Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is January 18th, 2021. Feels good to say that. And I'm your co-host, the Fat Wizard, joined today by...
Alamaxia.
And Lobos.
And today we're taking a look at Max Payne, released in North America on the PC July 23rd, 2001, and then a bunch of other platforms later on in this year. And now that it's 2021, games under 2001 qualify. It's really weird. I guess I felt like this is the first game we've played that's almost like HD. I don't know. Did you guys get the sense that we're almost like exiting retro land here? Or is it just me?
I think definitely once we're starting to hit the PlayStation 2 era here, we're going to start seeing games that we're going to feel like we didn't play too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 years just creeps up on you.
But I think this game was so much fun, and I was reminded of how much fun I had when I first played it. Just like the running and gunning and slow motion time stopping and stuff like that. So let me walk you through kind of the basic of this game here. It is an old school New York hard-boiled cop inspired game, right? With like that kind of visual novel.
Very film noir.
Film noir. Like a visual novel or a graphic novel presentation in terms of like the cutscenes and stuff. They would actually have the comic book, things kind of line up and voice over. And that's really fun. I thought that was a really great way to drive the plot along. Essentially, it's a third-person shooter, and it's, if you didn't have the time mechanic, which allows you to slow down time, I'd say it's a pretty, by the books shooter. There's nothing too special about it except for the really cool ability to slow down time. Did you guys really get your fill of slowing down time here?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I've been actually playing a lot of kind of more competitive FPS lately, so I opted to do a lot more like corner peeking with less slowdown time. Yeah. So I did use it in certain cases, but I did a lot less slowdown time than I thought that I would.
Oh, you're missing out.
For me, I towards the end I was using slowdown a lot more than the beginning because of how powerful all the enemies started getting.
Yeah, and I do remember back when I played this, 20 years ago, I was like, I remember this game being kind of difficult. And when you start out the game, there's only one difficulty unlocked.
Yeah.
It's just like normal mode. I don't remember what the difficulty name is, but I'd say like the first third, the game's broken up into 3 different chapters. And the first chapter is not too bad. But yeah, after chapter 2 and 3, things start getting a little rough, and you start wanting to abuse that quick save, right? I know Lobos is a fan of the quick save as well.
Oh yeah.
I was mashing the F5 button around every corner. I take 5 steps.
It's like you kill a guy.
F5.
Yep. Kill a guy, F5. Kill a guy, F5. Yeah, absolutely. So you start out the game here, and you're actually it's a big flashback. So actually, the beginning of the game starts out actually at the end of the game with you on the top of the what's the building name?
The Aesir building.
Aesir building, yeah, and you get like a little radio comm saying. He's on top. Everything's gone mad. Send backup. And then Max Payne kind of narrates, looking over the building. He's like, "Hey, I got to go back 3 years ago to tell you what's going on." Mm-hmm. And so you go in there. It's kind of a normal day. Max Payne is a normal cop on the NYPD. He's living in Jersey, New Jersey, and he comes home, and his wife and his baby have been murdered. That's no good.
Well, what's really harrowing in the beginning of this game is they aren't murdered when he comes home. They are in the act of being murdered as he arrives. So it's the voice acting in this game actually, I think, is incredible for the time era that we're dealing with. Because I say harrowing because the woman that played the voice of the wife, her screams, they're haunting. They're scary.
Yeah, they are.
But it's
they're
so
very
well done.
shrill and kind of they're kind of like getting into your spine and make you like kind of cringe a little bit, right?
It really made you feel for Max Payne and get into the reason of why he's going to be doing what he's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, folks that have seen John Wick, it's kind of that same setup where it's like, hey, this guy is the ultimate killer, or will become the ultimate killer at least, and he has some family members deceased, and he's got to go down and exact his revenge. So that's what we're doing. We so basically the reason why people seemingly the reason why your wife and child were murdered is it looks like it was like a random act of violence by these druggies that were hopped up on this drug called Valkyr. It's like a new designer drug that's coming out. And so a bunch of hoodlums come and kill your wife and baby, and then you basically, I think you start to be an undercover cop. You get transferred to the DEA, I believe, and then you are now an undercover cop infiltrating.
You are undercover inside the Punchinello crime family.
Yeah, the Punchinello, which, by the way, like, what a great crime lord name, right? Like all the so Max Payne leans on its tropes, and so all of the crime families are very obvious, like that real Italian last name, right? Because we deal with the Punchinellos, we deal with the there's another one, Lupino.
Yep. Jack Lupino.
And then, of course, we even have some Russians come in. Vladimir comes in a little bit later, so it's real classic crime dramas here. And so let's get to the actual first mission here. You're basically told to meet one of your companions. I'm trying to get his name here. Alex Balder.
Alex Balder, and you were called by BB, one of your colleagues is in the DEA, to meet him at the Roscoe Street station, which is where our first level is going through the subway station.
And you first go to like some sort of bathroom, I believe, and you just see bloodstains leading into the bathroom, and you see your dead body. And Max like pulls out his gun. He's like, "All right, it's time to get serious here." And so, what happens next is just a bunch of really fun jumping around, diving, slow motion shooting, and all that. Which, by the way, I had a lot of fun editing this because I could basically get the highlights of when things worked out and looked really fun. And like when I'm diving and I get like the headshots and stuff like that. Most of the times I was diving and missing everything. Did you guys have any issues like shooting and diving there?
My shotgun wasn't the most accurate, as all shotguns are, but once I decided to switch over to the assault rifle mid game, the diving and shooting was a lot better.
Yeah, the Colt Commando, is that what it was?
Oh yeah, the Colt Commando.
Oh yeah, that thing was awesome. Yeah, so
going back.
Well, I was just gonna say, a lot of the weapons kind of have like a randomness to the aim component. Like, it's not 100% accurate. So I found myself latching on to things that were either more accurate or didn't need to be accurate, like shotgun. You just kind of center it, and then wherever the spread goes, like it'll do the job.
Exactly. Yeah, like the Berettas and the Desert Eagle, they're a little tricky because especially the Desert Eagle, because it's such a slow refire rate, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to line that shot up.
But I felt like the Desert Eagle was more accurate than the Beretta. Like I could pick off someone much further away.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to take the time or just be very quick on the draw here. So we're seeing a very important plot point coming up here. Our buddy Alex is about to get murdered by an unknown assassin, which this is BB, as we find out later. I think at the beginning of the game, so Max Payne would have obviously recognized BB killed Alex, but BB's actually out of the view when he shoots him, and at that time the player hasn't really seen what BB looks like, correct? So it's sort of an interesting thing where it's like the player sees the face but doesn't know the name. Right. Max knows the name but hasn't seen the face, so it's kind of cool there. And then after that, we go to kind of a seedy hotel. Right? This one was. So again, one of the things I really love about Remedy games here is that they do a really great job building an environment and making it sort of livable or seem like there's things going on there, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think the hotel room was one of my favorite levels because there's so much detail to it, and there's so much like, it's a seedy place, and so there's kind of like things that make you look at it and you're like, oh, that's kind of all right, whatever. Whatever you're into.
Yeah, like there's one part in the hotel where you come across basically this area where they're filming a porno in the seedy hotel, and this woman is filming it without the knowledge of who she's with, and she's selling these videos off on the side, and this is all just side plot that you get, these little side stories, and the world is so alive. You can open up all these random closets and armoires and find little bits of ammo. You can turn on one of the beds, if you know what that means, and one of them will shake off to the side and you find a shotgun under it.
Yeah, I think we're doing that like right now too. Yeah, I thought that was so cool. There's not a whole lot of secrets in the game. Interestingly enough, there is a secret in the tutorial area, which people I saw were kind of directing you to go to and see Lobos. But yeah, this game is very much like, you run from corridor to corridor and you shoot. And actually, so one of the things we're looking at right now, and Remedy did this a lot in their future games, where they embedded little TV shows inside of their TV. And that was
Lords and Ladies.
Lords and Ladies. It's and I love it because it's obviously very hammy in the acting there. It's like, oh my lord, or stuff like that.
My lady.
So
I think this is one of those.
I love it.
One of their, like, when it started to get popular to be able to like interact with a bunch of things. So like, you can turn on all the sinks and flush all the toilets. So I was just having a blast, just mashing E on everything and seeing what went and what didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we just got a tip that one of the rooms here, I think it was room 313, is where we need to go to find someone. I don't remember exactly what we're doing. But one of the things that's really cool is you open the door and you see this counterweight just kind of fall down. And I'm like, well, that seems really bad. I'm going to move out of the way. Mm-hmm. Anyone that's played Dungeons & Dragons knows that if you see a counterweight around a door, get away. And sure enough, what happens after a second or two, a shotgun basically would shoot whatever is standing in that doorway. I was like, that's really cool. And they never use that again. That's a one-time thing. So, I really, really enjoyed some of the ways that they tried to spice up the gameplay. Because, again, it is like you're pretty much just running and gunning for the full 8 hours. And then they intersperse these little plot points here with these comic books. Which, by the way, I was surprised. I don't think I would have realized it, but if you would just take the whole story of Max Payne, just all the comic book stuff, it's about like 58, almost an hour long. I actually saw it on YouTube. I was like, wow, that actually is like there's a full story there. And so I bet if people wanted to know, like, hey, let's go into the world of Max Payne.
Yeah,
you could probably just watch that video for an hour and get all the story and sort of a fun presentation there.
That's cool. Is it just the first game or other games as well?
Oh yeah, just the first game. So yeah, it's like in my 8 or 9 hours of playthrough, I watched basically an hour of comic book stuff. So that's cool. And some of the comic book stuff are optional. Like you'll find a letter and it will give you a little thing that's like, oh, here's a little bit more information here. But the start and the end points of the chapters are always punctuated with setting up the scene and explaining what you're going to do. Which, by the way, I want to segue a little bit into some of the pros that this game has. I guess this is very classical. You talked about this being a noir experience, and it's like, it's one of these things where he wants to make an analogy out of everything. He can't just say it's snowing, right? Yeah. He's like, it's snowing like diamonds falling from the angel's ears or eyes.
Very descriptive. Very elaborate.
Very cool.
But
some of it comes
poetic.
off a little cheesy. Yeah, it's poetic.
Yeah,
some of it hits really hard. Some of it's a little cheesy, but I really like listening to that.
Mm-hmm.
Tasty cheese.
So, so as we see here, one of the things I try to do as much as possible is show all the really fun parts where you're diving. One of my favorite things to do, Lobos, you said you like to peek around the corners a little bit.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that the way you could play the game is just kind of like peek around the corners and shoot the enemies, but I prefer to peek around the corners, line up the enemies, and then dive across the room in slow motion.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah.
Like pretty much every time I entered a room, I would just be like, all right, just dive in. And then I would back out and then like kind of do some more gunfire. But certainly some of the enemies were like very accurate and high damage that you pretty much needed to use the slowdown.
Mm-hmm.
I want to interrupt you real quick because this is one of my favorite things. You meet a bartender who's he's got his pants down for some unmentionable reasons, and he starts to run away from you, and so like you got to chase him down, and it's just brilliant because his pants are around his ankles, and so he's kind of like running around. I don't remember what this guy's name is. He is one of the heads of the Punchinello family, though, I believe, and you're meeting him at the CD hotel.
Is that Rico Muerte?
That sounds sounds like it could be right there. Yeah, just so many little fun things that they do in this game here. So we're about halfway through part 1. Again, there's this game is broken up into 3 distinct parts. The first part being called The American Dream. The second part being A Cold Day in Hell, and the third part A Bit Closer to Heaven. And I feel like it really does feel like a 3-act play, where initially, you know, you've got these thugs that came in that hopped up on Valkyr killing your family, and then your objective is I want to go kill this crime lord, right? And eventually the story is going to keep going and keep going and keep going, and almost in the same way as like Deus Ex we talked about just a couple episodes ago. They kind of go some interesting conspiracy theories and some stuff like that, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. Now, this area we just finished here, I thought was cool because you're blocked off, and there are some little propane tanks. And what you're supposed to do is shoot the propane tanks, and then the propane tanks will like shoot through the wall and explode and open up a new path. And it reminded me, and this game does this a couple other times as well, but it reminds me of the old school first-person shooters where they were not afraid to put things in the environment you had to kind of explore and play around with to progress, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a big red button or an objective marker that says shoot this. It's like you're trapped until you figured this out.
Right.
It took me a little bit to figure it out. I think, Lobos, you shot that thing pretty quickly.
Yeah, the problem is that the hitbox on those is like the top of the valve. So you can shoot like the body of it and nothing will happen. So I was like, what the heck?
Okay.
And I think somebody actually mentioned like, hey, shoot the top. And I was like, okay.
That's why I was having troubles then.
It took me a few times lining that up and getting it right. I think that particular canister killed me a good 3 or 4 times before I figured out you hit it from the top, from the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it will shoot straight at you, and like, you know, I got impaled in the chest multiple times from that. So yeah, you have to go off to the side there. We just met one of the, I don't know if he's like the head of the police department. I always viewed him as sort of the Jim Gordon from Batman. His name is Bravero. Oh man, I just lost his first name there. But yeah, he's kind of like the Boy Scout cop, and he's after you because actually we should explain why Jim Bravura. Thank you. We should explain why Max Payne is killing all these people. Well, so for one, you know, obviously there's the crime lord stuff, but what's also happening is you were undercover, but the police don't know you're undercover. So the police think that you're a bad guy too. And so Jim Bravura is coming out, and he's basically the police pressure is going to start coming down harder on you. So you've almost got like you're dealing with the crime lords, and you're also dealing with the police all trying to kill you.
So I think the police knew that you were a DEA agent, but because they did not know that BB killed Alex, they thought Max Payne killed Alex. So they're like, there's a murderer on the loose, and now he's literally going around killing all of these mobsters.
Yeah.
That's right, because you were also fleeing from the crime scene. So, you know, I know he's between a rock and a hard place. Mm-hmm. So here's a section that's really funny. I'm trying to remember which level this is. I think this is on a level called Fear That Gives Men Wings. You walk up into an area and you see two guys that are up against a wall, and they're like, which one should I cut, the blue wire or the green wire? And they're like, cut the green wire. No, not that one. And then they blow up. And then you go and try to open up the door, and the door doesn't open, but the jostling of the door actually causes the wall that had been blown up to kind of cave in, and that's your entrance into the next area. So kind of clever way of progressing.
It's done very cartoon-like, where the door just sits there completely untouched, and all of the wall around it, above and to the side, just in.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. We are now chasing an individual. I'm trying to figure out exactly who this is. Is this Vinny?
No. I don't think this is Vinny Gognitti.
Not yet. Okay. Well, in any case, there's a dude with these sunglasses, and you're chasing him through the city a little bit on the rooftops, and at the very end, he jumps on a train, and your quest marker says, follow wherever
him.
He went.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow him. And it was funny because I figured it out after a couple tries. Lobos, you figured it out, but the hitboxes kind of killed you over and over and over.
Yeah.
And so it kind of you're like, is this actually the thing I'm supposed to do? So
I started
comical.
doubting myself. It was a little more particular than I was thinking. I was actually trying to jump onto one of the overhead kind of structural part and then down onto the train. But when I tried to do that, it would just invis wall me and I would fall to my death. So I was like, but I managed to get it eventually.
Yeah. I died a good handful of times for the same thing. Just you had to get that running jump off the right pixel.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where it's like you one or two deaths and you're kind of like, well, am I really supposed to be jumping onto a train from a building here? Oh man! By the way, so we're looking at a close up of a couple individuals that are coming after Max Payne. I just love the scowls everyone has in the game, right? This is where the facial or the textures on the faces they're starting to look a little bit better. They still look like someone just put a texture on a polygon, right? So not quite modeled well enough. But yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it reminds me of GoldenEye, where it's kind of just like maybe a super low res photo of a person just slapped on a flat face front. I think somebody said that a lot of the faces were dev members, which makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
The face of Max Payne here is Sam Lake. Sam Lake was I believe he was the creative director on Max Payne. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he looks exactly like it. It is so crazy to see. If you look at pictures of Sam Lake, it's literally Max Payne with the hair and everything.
They always do the
really
smirk
crazy.
too. Man, I bet in photos.
Yeah. Okay, so I just got the name here. We were actually looking for Vinny Gognitti, and so he's basically Max Payne has finally caught up to him, and he's trying to find out where Lapino is, and he kind of enforces a little police brutality. He kind of shoves his Beretta in his face. And he finds out that Lapino is in the Ragnarok Theater. And I believe this is the first time we start to get sort of this Viking mythology that pops up more towards the end of the game. But this one is this one's a really cool area because it's a disco we're running through now with lights, and there's people that are around, shooting you while you're on the dance floor. And what I really think was cool is coming back to this game from having played some of Remedy's other games, in particular Alan Wake. One of the DLCs in Alan Wake has you fighting during a concert, And I almost could see the roots of that in this level, where a couple areas where you're like pushing consoles and pyrotechnics come off, and enemies are coming at you while the music, like the club music, is playing. I was like, that's pretty cool. So here we've got the we're starting to find that Lupino is into some kind of weird stuff, right? Lobos, did you want to talk a little bit about some of this cult stuff that we see?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what happens around here. I remember like the more combative parts to this particular level.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember this. I can't remember. There's some. Is it him that's reading like some really weird
he's like almost like speaking in tongues.
Yeah, he's just like saying random like kind of satanic stuff.
Any old and dead god that he can to help him.
Yeah. Yeah,
even Cthulhu.
But this is cool because it goes from this real hard-boiled cop detective to this occult stuff, and almost over the course of maybe like 1.5 chapters, and that was really weird. It was a random. It was really random, but yeah, it's almost like it almost reminded me of a Batman villain, whereas like this guy almost has some supernatural powers, and so. He is not immune to fire, though, and as one of the weapons you have is a Molotov, I pretty much just stun lock him with Molotovs. And how did you guys do against this boss fight?
Several attempts.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest part is kind of leading up to him, where there's just a bunch of these agents dropping down from like the top rafters, and you don't necessarily know where they're going to drop down. I definitely was employing a lot of grenades and Molotovs as well, and I think I was mostly rocking the shotgun around this point, so just kind of hiding behind one of the posts, waiting for him to get close, and then taking my shots where I could.
Now I kind of wonder how much of Lupino's kind of personality was fueled by the Valkyr. Just thinking about the drug and what it would do to the mind, and especially what's going to happen to Max Payne right now, where he's kind of slipped something and he goes into this delusional dream area. Yeah. If someone goes into his dream area enough times, like if Lupino would have, that kind of gives me a reason why that occult kind of came into play.
That's a good point. Yeah, and the person that slipped us that roofie there was Mona Sachs, and I guess she's an assassin. She doesn't play too big of a part in the story, but they almost introduce her like she's going to be a huge character. Right, but she kind of pops up here or there. Yeah. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the dream sequences, because every single person that I've ever talked to about Max Payne, the only thing they really remember about it is like, yeah, there's some really weird, scary stuff with a baby crying and like blood trails, right? Alamaxia, do you want to walk us through what's going on there?
So Payne is dosed with some Valkyr, and he is effectively taken to this dream world state where he is reliving in this very twisted nightmare world the murder of his family. And a part of this involves you going through this absolutely pitch dark room, and all you have is this thin line of blood that you can walk on. So thin. If you press one direction, you're just going to fall off, and you got to kind of reset that area.
You got to redo the whole thing.
And sometimes you got to jump from line to line, but the entire time you're hearing like this baby crying, this woman screaming, and sometimes there's one time like this scream came up like this out of nowhere, and I was like, "What's going on?" They're so creepy, but they always end with you just kind of coming out of it.
Yeah, and you seem, I think, at least in the second one, the second drug infused or induced hallucinogen, you see yourself as the bad guy, and I don't remember if you see yourself as the bad guy and like the one shooting your wife. I can't remember if the first one has that.
I think the first one did, and then the second one had a lot more breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I don't want to spoil that yet, because we'll get there, but there's some cool stuff there. And then you wake up and you are not chained, but tied to a chair in the boiler room, right? And there's a baseball bat that you've got cracked over the head a couple times with. And so you basically start with no weapons, and you get to use that baseball bat to take out the first guy, and the first guy drops a gun, and then you go use that gun to go kill other guys.
Shout outs to the baseball bat animation, because it's like his wrists are like breaking while he's swinging this thing, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, he just kind of like twists it around. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But you get out of there, and one of the things we've seen one of these before, but you have little comic strips that you can find from. It's like it's the MO of some crime guy, and it's called like the baseball bat
Captain
Killer.
Baseball Bat Boy.
Thank you. Yeah, and I guess he puts down those comic strips wherever he commits a crime. I don't know. Did we ever see who that baseball bat guy killer is, or is that? Did I miss that? I don't think I ever saw how
Frank
that wrapped
Niagara.
Up. Oh, is that who?
Yeah, Frank Niagara is he's the guy that it's him, because he's the one that ties you to the chair. He's the one that has the bat and everything.
Okay.
And one of my favorite lines from this game comes from that scene where he has you tied to the chair. He's like, I'm Frankie the Bat Niagara, and Max Payne's like, Niagara, does that mean you cry a lot? And then and the inner dialogue of Max Payne, pissing him off was a smart thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
So after that, we meet Vladimir. Vladimir, he is a Russian mobster, and he's got a turf war going on against Puncello. And so he basically says, hey, Max, you do me a favor. I've got a location for you to go get a bunch of guns. All you need to do is go blow up or go kill this guy, and you get to keep all the guns. And so you have to go like blow up a ship, I believe. And then you can loot the whole. And so what we're doing now is we're in the cargo holds, and we are just making our way to the ship. I fast forwarded this because it's a very, very long scene, but I kind of think it's cool. Where you're on these, so you're in this big like shipping warehouse outside, and you've got this huge mechanical thing which is intended to pick up big cargo boxes and move them around, and so you're actually almost piloting that through the level. But and Lobos, I know you noticed this. It's very rusty, right? Because it makes a lot of noise. It's like they cranked up the sound of that. It's just like the whole time.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of this level, though, is that's where you first get, or it's where I first found the sniper rifle. And
yeah, but you didn't like using it because you were like, I don't want it to go into slow motion.
No, I used it all the time. I just did not zoom with it. If you zoom with it and shoot, then it will show you the bullet go.
That's the coolest thing. I want to see the bullet go through the guy's head.
It was cool the first 2 times, and then I was like, never again. And it's actually like 100% accurate if you're free aiming it. So I used that pretty much as I could.
The sniper rifle was super helpful later on with when you could just bullet time not a dive bullet time, but just like bullet time, walk into a room, and you could pick off 4 guys really quick with it.
Yeah, that's kind of worth mentioning a little bit because we haven't really talked about the bullet time. So the bullet time is a way for you to slow down the game, and it's really weird because enemies still seem to have the same accuracy. So it's like I found many times I would just bullet time into a hailstorm of bullets that would kill me. So you had to kind of, it wasn't quite the get out of jail free card I kind of wanted.
Right.
Like, I guess when I play this game, I just want to dive forward in slow motion and shoot people, and that's a good way to die.
Yeah, it's not like it gives you iframes or anything. Like it just slows down time. It doesn't give you an advantage other than the fact that you get to aim more quickly or aim better.
And you look really cool while doing it. And also, I think one of the things that also is a huge detriment to it is, all right, so when you slow down time, there's 2 ways of slowing down time. There's one where you can jump and slow down at the same time, and it's basically then once you hit the ground, time will resume. Or you can manually trigger it, and then you can just run around and shoot, and that's actually really useful. One of the problems with jumping while in slow motion and shooting is once you hit the ground, your character stops shooting for a good portion of the time. So like imagine you are diving into a room and you're shooting and you don't get all the guys by the time you hit the ground, then you're basically defenseless for a good, I don't know, quarter to a half a second. And often that's enough to get you killed.
Yeah.
And I feel like that little tweak, just the extra time where I'm like, okay, I can shoot even while on the ground, that little tweak would have made this game so much more fun.
Did you ever do any bullet time combo where you did the standstill bullet time and then you could make your bullet time last a little longer if you dive towards the end of it?
It makes sense.
No, I didn't do that.
I don't know if it was something that was intended because the bullet time sound like that
Stops there.
It stops. Like, it stops being really slow, but everything is, like, all the animations and everything are still really slow for, like, an extra second or and a half.
Yeah.
I don't think it would help much at all with, like, the shooting thing, but it was kind of one of those interesting, I wonder if that could be abused.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't notice that, but often I wasn't running out of the time meter too often. There is a separate meter that says how much time, how long you can stop time for or slow down time for. And I think it's every time you kill someone, it kind of adds some more time there. But I found I was very often about halfway full or maybe 3/4 away full.
Yeah.
Now, we just finished our good buddy Vladimir, his mission. We blew up the ship, and he is now bringing us to the Punchinello Manor, and we have 3 people we have to kill here. 3 of his I guess top leaders or whatnot.
Yeah, it's the trio trying to find their names.
I like this
this
tactic you did where you slow down time as you're starting to throw a grenade and open the door.
Yeah.
So because you have to do that, because if you open the door and then hit slow time, by the time you get your grenade toss off, it's like they've already got some shots on you. It can be rough.
Exactly. So the throwing a grenade is an act. He has to it's a whole pull, reach around, throw.
Yeah.
It probably takes a good second to throw a grenade. So what I ended up doing was just I'm going to start that animation, and there's as I'm starting the throw animation, the final throw animation, crack open that door, and then hopefully the grenade just kind of ekes its way through and kills some guys there. So we're going through the Punchinello Mansion, and this almost looks like one of those old Victorian mansions. It's got that really ugly wallpaper, which is I don't know. It's got flowers or something. I don't know what's on there.
Very floral about it's hideous.
It's like
and it's got even old pictures of almost like British royalty.
Yeah, it's like a less fancy Scarface or something.
Yeah, but again, this is the type of the manner I would expect a crime lord to have, right? It's completely opposite to their personality. So we're almost done with this mission, but we get a call from an individual named Alfred Woden. This guy's cool. Alamaxia, I'm going to call on you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Alfred Woden?
Yeah, so Alfred Woden is he's a guy that is a part of what is called the Inner Circle. And the Inner Circle, from what you can tell through the game, is just kind of, a secret organization that has a bit more influence on things, both police and politics, and they even seem like they have some government level influence. And Woden approaches you and is like, there's really bad stuff going on. This drug Valkyr, we're going to learn later on what it was designed exactly for, but he wants you to stop it. And he's like, you do this and I'll make all these charges go away.
And what did you think about that? I'm going to call you on you, Lobos. What did you think about that, where you're going to kill the end boss, Punchinello, and basically government agents storm the room and kill him before you get to?
Well, I don't know. At this point, it kind of started to feel a lot like Deus Ex. Like, there's a bunch of things going on here now. Like, where's this going to end up? Are we going to end up on Mars with aliens? But... No, yeah, I wasn't expecting it didn't feel like I was getting towards the end of the game. Like, I knew there had to be more to it, and so there it was.
So we are now introduced formally to it's the CEO of the Acer Corporation, and her name is is it Nicole? Yeah, Nicole Horn.
Oh yeah, Horn.
And she gives us our second taste of Valkyr, and yeah, it's very much similar to the first one, where they do this thing where they bring out the field of view.
Yeah.
So it makes everything look very like hallway, which was normally short, looks super long here. And again, you have to do this sequence where you're following the blood trails, and I tell you what, I hated this so much because it was so hard to stay on the blood trails. Yeah. It was hard to tell where you were supposed to go.
It was almost like you're walking on like a pyramid, such that if you step to the side, it would be slanted and you'd lose it. It was done. And then they have a maze where your visibility is super low. Yeah. I think you're supposed to use the audio cues to kind of follow where to go, but yeah, it was...
Yeah, I think that sequence actually took me about 15 minutes of retries there. And I remember being scared of this when I played, and I was like, I don't know, late teens, so I should have been a big boy then, but this scared me. But going through again, it actually just kind of annoyed me, and it wasn't scary anymore. So I'm okay.
Yeah, so here's where Max kills himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor Max. He's going through some stuff.
He really is, isn't he?
But that's basically the end of part 2. And then we move on to part 3, which is a bit closer to heaven. And this one is a lot more going into the government organizations here, conspiracies, cover-ups, and stuff like this. One thing I really wanted to mention before I forget is I like that the setting of this is like... It's actually, I think it's during Christmas or sometime around Christmas because it's very heavy snowstorms.
Sure, yeah.
And it's the weather reports make note of it multiple times. It's like, hey, everyone's frozen in. This is the heaviest snowfall we've ever seen. And what I like about that is it really makes you feel alone and isolated. Like Max is he's kind of a one-man machine here. No one wants him on his side. Everyone's trying to kill him. And then you compound that with the weather, and that actually kind of like, I think it does a really good job on almost mirroring Max, his peril quite well. So as an analog for Max's story, I thought that the weather was interesting. Mm-hmm. But again, I think that's a very tropish thing for these crime stories, I believe.
And I think the weather also really helps to set even more and hammer in that noir feel because everything becomes very dark yet covered in white. So that very black and white feel of
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think they even referred to the city as Nior York City a lot towards the end of the game.
Did they really? That's so amazing. Nior York City. Wow. Okay. So we've got a tip here about Nicole Horn, and we're invading her foundry here. And this is an interesting area, and it's got some I guess almost difficulties. I had some difficulties trying to navigate, in particular this area here, where there's it looks like there's lava on the ground, and there's no clear path across. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do here? And again, you're just kind of like supposed to try different things out. And I think what I ended up doing was just walking on like near the side of the wall. To get across.
I definitely did a lot of parkour in this area. Like there's I'm pretty sure I skipped some big chunks of it too because I was like, oh, there's a window and I can. It looks like I need to cross all this stuff, but if I get to the window, so I get to the window and yeah.
And looking at what we're playing through right here and thinking what we've already gone through, the way the game evolves, even from like not just a straightforward killing perspective, but other things that Max has to do. In the beginning of the game, I feel like it's a little bit more discovery, a little bit more puzzle because they want you to really dig into the world. But now the world is alive, the world is after you, and it's platformy. The puzzles almost went away here, and now we have to jump across these boxes and outside of buildings where we didn't have too much of that early in the game. The gameplay itself evolved in this last chapter.
Yeah, they throw in a bunch of like traps and like laser tripwires and
laser traps,
all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and there's a reason why this whole building is trapped. We just learned about this the end of last mission. By the way, that mission was called Hidden Truths, I think. And you basically intercept or you pick up a phone call, and there's a military guy that says, "Initiate Operation Dead Eyes," and that is an initiative to get rid of all evidence and all witnesses and all scientists. And so what you need to do is go rescue a scientist. You have to go to the Deep Six. We're making our way to the Deep Six, which is I guess it's an underground
the military bunker
research center.
It's a military bunker that's under the Cold Steel Foundry.
Yes. Yeah, and so we're breaking our way through. And by the way, I just got a note here. I love this. Anytime you get stuck in these older games, you just push all the buttons, and eventually you'll get a big, 10 tons of steel crash through a wall, and you're like, oh, I guess that's the way I need to go there. So that was a lot of fun, just seeing that there. So while we get to the Deep Six, let's go ahead and talk about some of the weapons here. Lobos, do you want to walk us through a couple of your favorite weapons?
Yeah, I mean, largely, like I said, I use that sniper rifle. I kind of started to save it for higher threat targets because it's so much damage. And if you do headshots, like on almost any of the regular enemies, it's a one-shot. So I started saving that for kind of stronger enemies. And then with the Colt Commando as a backup, which is a very accurate assault rifle.
So good. It's probably, I think Colt Commando is probably my favorite weapon.
And then they also give you a grenade launcher, which I used a ton on groups of enemies because that was just awesome. In addition,
they give you a couple of Uzis that you can get. Dual Uzis.
Dual Uzis, yeah.
You get dual Berettas. Oh! I love this. Okay, so we just entered Deep Six here, and we see two government agents talking with a guard here, and they both pull out their guns and they unload a whole clip. But what I love so much is one of the guy who runs out of ammo, ejects the clip, reloads, and shoots him one more time, and the other guy's like, I think he's dead. It's just like, these guys love their jobs.
Yeah, really.
This game reminded me kind of a lot of if anyone's played Jedi Fallen Order and the Stormtroopers' little dialogue. This game has so many spots where I just stopped my forward progression and listened to the conversations the enemies were having. They're funny. They're hilarious. It makes the world alive and more real. And one thing that we didn't talk about, we talked about that one TV show back in the hotel, but there was another TV show on there that I linked both of you guys earlier today. It was called Address Unknown. I watched all the episodes of that, and what? It's
so weird.
It is so weird, but I learned
there's something with
it's
like
supposed
a
to be
flamingo talking or something.
Yeah, but it's all supposed to be kind of an analogy for what Max Payne is going through, and like some of the little inner torment that he has. Yeah, that flamingo is creepy.
That's a good point. Yeah, and boy, this scientist is about to go through some stuff too. So we just used him to open up another section into the Deep Six, and I think we actually see him later on just get brutally gunned down. Yeah, right there. I'm pretty sure that's the same scientist that just got gunned down by a security guard. So we basically took him out of prison. I mean, to be fair, this place was going to self-destruct anyway, so he was kind of dead with or without us. But yeah, it was kind of sad.
We could have rescued him, maybe. I don't
know. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, initially he wasn't going to help you, and like Max found him in the jail cell. He's like, I'm not going to help you. Max says, okay, I'm just going to put you back in. He goes, okay, fine, I'll help you. So he helps Max. Max gets through because he's like, why do you want to go down to the bunker? This place is going to blow. You're an idiot. So he tries to run off and gets gunned down by the government agents that's chasing Max.
Yeah, and Oh man, two things I want to talk about. Let's talk about this room right here, because you move into a room and it's, it says it's going to self-destruct in 30 seconds. And so you're like, okay, because it is locked off. And to the left, you see, or through the glass, you see some laser tripwires. And you're like, is the door going to open for me? Like, what's going on? And Lobos, I watched you play this, and you kind of did the same thing I did. I sat there for about 20 seconds. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to get myself out of the situation. Sure enough, you shoot one of the laser trip mines. It blows a hole in the wall, and then you're able to progress. Yep. And then you take the elevator up, which is really cool. And you can see the fire coming down below because there's a grate there. But if you're standing on the grate, like Lobos, the grate will fall, and you'll fall to your death there.
I just like to, experience everything the game has for me, even the
experience
unique deaths.
Every death, yeah, it's cool. So before we did that, though, we did get access to the logs. I understand more about what this Valkyr stuff is. It was part of this Project Valhalla, which there we go. There's some more of your Viking mythology. And this was a government, more or less, it's more complicated, but basically call it a government sanctioned way to research making super soldiers. And basically got canned, and Nicole Horn was really invested in it. She kind of took the research, and then I don't know if she formed Acer Corporation or sold it to Acer Corporation or brought it over there. In any case, Acer is basically the manufacturers of this drug, Valkyr. After that, we go into a really cool, I love this.
Yeah.
You go and you meet BB, and Max is like, okay, I know BB's a traitor, but I'm going to go meet him anyway. And sure enough, he tries to gun you down, and what proceeds is one of those multi-leveled parking lot levels where this car constantly is racing around trying to shoot you. It's so cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Like the whole idea of it seemed like a very dynamic level. You're like, whoa, the car's over there, and now it's over there. Like, where's it going to be next?
And then you're supposed to have this big final showdown with BB. And what happens if you get close enough to him, his AI script will activate, and he has this boss fight. But you can actually just sit there with a sniper rifle and shoot him 3 times in the head, and he just falls over, and boss fight done. Lobos, did you find that, or did you do it the right way?
I feel like I would have done the long range. I don't actually remember off the top of my head, but seeing a named boy, and then I would probably bust out my sniper rifle.
Yeah,
I think I ended up chasing him around and playing cat and mouse a bit.
So this is where Woden introduces himself as part of the member of the inner circle, and he says to you, hey, we want to stop this thing, but our hands are tied. And so Max becomes, Max is a vigilante and outlaw, and now he almost has the influence of the shadowy leaders, but they kind of have to wait for him to clean up their mess before they can really step in and help him out. So it's like, you finally have some powerful allies there. And so Woden's basically like, hey, you need to go take care of Nicole Horn and her cronies, and then we'll free up, we'll remove all the charges from you, and we'll put you back on the streets. So I thought that was interesting. I don't think I've played Max Payne 2, so I don't know what happens after all this. But once you side up with spoilers, right? Once you side up with the Woden and his men, I'm not sure whose men actually come in and shoot out everyone, but you're basically sitting in a conference room, and some government officials come in and gun down the whole room. And I think those are Woden's men helping you, and then you jump out the window. Alamaxia, did you get a feel for that one way or the other?
I think it was supposed to be Horn's men, because
Horn's men comes in and tries to
because whenever you're going through the Acer building, a lot of the enemies in there they look very similar. But I wouldn't imagine Woden would have tried to off himself and the people around him to try to sell anything.
Well, yes, but. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, no, they are Acer gunmen. That's right. But Woden pretends to be shot, so I think maybe he's playing to get out of there alive. He's pretending to be dead to make his
he definitely had to play his cards right to live out of that.
Yeah. And then we're basically going through some sort of government building here. Or is this Acer?
I think we're trying. I think here we're trying to get out of the building that houses the inner circle. So this is kind of a government building. We were in a meeting room, and now we're just trying to get the heck out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it basically looks like it's a multi-storied Capitol building. It really does look like a state capitol building, right?
Yeah, big circular, like multi-tiered level with just kind of a bunch of administration offices and that sort of thing.
And I put this in the video because I really like this. As you're going down the stairs, you actually have a couple SWAT members rappelling down from the area, and we're probably 3 levels from the end of the game. And again, I like that because they hadn't used that anywhere else that I remember. So they're still kind of introducing a couple new ways to bring enemies in here.
And a lot of different ways to bring the enemies into the scene. Like one part we had just a little bit ago was a couple grenades dropped out of the top of an elevator, and you're like, what? You just hear this ting, 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 ting. And it's a part where you think you're supposed to go into that elevator because walk up these stairs, go right there, but 2 grenades drop and then 2 guys drop from the top of the elevator and going, whoa, they're even like hiding. They're really hiding now.
Yeah, and of course we're now going through metal detectors, and I don't know. Does anyone else get a little bit of a joy when the metal detectors actually go off when you walk through with guns?
Yeah, it's more that, turn on the sinks, flush the toilets, walk through the metal detector. Right. It's awesome, man. It's like a real world.
So after that, Max Payne's kind of like, hey, I know where I need to do. I take my time. He seems like he's almost going to go to Starbucks and get some tea and kind of chill there for a little bit. He's in no rush. He knows where Nicole is and what he's got to do. And so it's almost that moment of calm before the storm, right? And this level is really interesting because if you imagine, I don't remember how far along the Matrix this happens, but there's this classic scene in the Matrix where they go and rob a bank. This is literally that, right? Going into the Acer Corporation, you walk through the metal security, the things go off, guards come in, they have those pillars on the sides of the walls there. You're jumping in slow motion. It was like that was a lot of fun. But unfortunately, we get up a little bit more here, and there's guys with grenade launchers. That's what I was going to say.
Is now there's a bunch of dudes in this section with grenade launchers and
all over the place. This is where the sniper rifle is a lot of fun.
It certainly shines here.
Again, I like to zoom in. But I don't know. I like the camera, man. I like the zoom in.
Well, I
of
think
the
there I did
on.
use the zoom in. Sometimes they're too far away, so it's like, all right, you just need to be a little more accurate.
Yeah,
and I like how you mentioned the Matrix there a minute ago, just likening the building to it, because the bullet time you can feel and tell was taken straight from it. Like, the Matrix was a huge inspiration for this game.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. We're getting to a part where, this game has progressively got more and more difficult, but I do feel like a lot of the difficulty from this game comes from enemies coming out from areas and just shooting you, and generally it's like you get 1 or 2 shots and then you're dead. Right. So I think that strategy of peeking, hiding behind corners, and shooting actually works out really well, almost to the detriment of the game, right? Because I feel like the game is set up so you can dive and jump and have fun, but it almost punishes you for going out of cover,
Yeah, especially when there's just a bunch of enemies and they're coming from all over the place. You can't just jump out into the open, or you get real punished.
Yeah.
And I think I had somebody say that there's some sort of system in the game that if you're doing really well, it actually increases the difficulty, not a setting,
so
but
dynamic difficulty.
Some sort of dynamic difficulty.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know exactly what that translates to, but it kind of would explain any sort of difficulty curve as you get toward the end of the game.
one of the things that I read about the AI is that it was very scripted, so that if you were doing one thing, the enemies would react in a specific way. So like if you started hiding, they would try to come out and get you. If you started charging in, they would start hiding and try to be. They would always try to get the advantage on you.
We just got to a portion where we meet Mona again, and I don't know, I'm very confused about this whole Mona stuff, because you meet her again after, I don't know, 2 episodes, 1 episode and a half, you meet her again, and then she instantly gets killed. So I was like, all right, and then she dies in an elevator. The elevator closes its doors, and then when it reopens, her body is gone.
Right.
And what's confusing to me, Max like, oh, okay. Max says, I'm finally putting the pieces together. I'm like, could you clue me in? Because I don't know, like, is she actually alive and working with the other people, or is she actually dead and someone took the body? Like, what's going on with Mona? What is her deal?
She's there to add mystery, man.
So there in that one, I think she was actually killed, and I think she was killed by Horn. I think she was actually shot by Nicole.
Yeah, but who took her body and why?
Well, she had that double, or assumed double. That earlier in the game there was a girl that looked identical to her. She's like, I'm actually her sister.
Right.
And I wonder if the body was taken as just we don't want anyone to find this because we don't want anyone to find out there's another Mona.
Okay. Sure, we'll go with that, because that thoroughly confused me. Hey, and one other thing I thought was kind of comical, we saw about a minute ago, you have to basically you have to hack into the security mainframe to unlock a bunch of doors. And so you go there and there's a bunch of servers, and so I'm running around, and I was like, is there like a console I'm supposed to be using? How the heck do I hack this? And then I kind of got into Max's head a little bit. I'm like, all right, how would Max Payne hack servers? And then it instantly clicked with me. Lobos, how would Max Payne hack servers?
Shoot them.
Yes, that's exactly what you have to do. And I was like, that's great. I love it so much. This is good. So we're coming up on the very end section of the game here. We're going to the top of the Acer building.
We did skip a section where we were assaulted by a helicopter through like giant windows. Yep. And I think it's just a scripted series of like the helicopter shooting, right? Because I just stood behind a pillar and then I just waited. I actually took a bathroom break, I remember. And I think I came back and I had survived, but then guys bust through the door and threw a grenade at me, so I died. So
you died.
Yeah.
I thought you had to shoot it, and maybe after a while.
Oh yeah, maybe it's both.
It does go away, but I think it's if you shoot it, it goes away faster.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we're at the very top of the building, and there's this huge telephone antenna, and maybe not a telephone antenna. I don't know what you call this thing, like. Whatever.
It's like a huge radio tower on top.
Radio tower,
like what you would see on top of the Empire State Building, just like this big metal, just scaffolding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you first go there, like the Max Payne actually shoots 2 of the anchor points where the antenna is fastened, and there's 4 total. And so you're like, okay, I know what I need to do here.
Right.
And you actually hear the chopper so Nicole Horn ran into a chopper, and for some reason they're like, we're going to wait 30 seconds to take off or a minute to take off. And the pilot's like, I don't like the way this wind looks. And it's like, okay, yeah, I know. I get it. I know what you want. Shut up. Let me do it. So I managed to shoot the first one pretty easily, but the second one, it was actually a little trickier to shoot because you can see it through some gratings, but I couldn't shoot it through the gratings. Lobos, I know you found a really asinine way to shoot it. I as always, asinine.
You're basically doing what I did.
No, you were like
I jumped onto the side of the building, okay, and then I saw it there.
Basically, you were like 1 inch from falling.
Look, I did it that way the first time, and then the second time, because something happened, I died or something like that. And then the second time, I went up just like you did there on where the other one was.
Oh, yeah, this is where I go. So. Yeah, so you shoot the fourth one, and I was expecting that to be game over. And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? And the clock is still ticking. The helicopter pilot's still saying like, all right, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to give this thing a little push. So I use my grenade launcher. I don't know. Could you use like guns as well?
I think it's just time. I think if you had shot the 2 and then you wait there, then it just happens.
Really?
Because I believe that's. I thought that's how I did it.
I thought that.
I don't.
Because if you don't succeed, the helicopter comes and guns you down. Comically.
Yeah. But I think if you shoot out the cables, I could be remembering incorrectly, but I thought I did it and then just
you have to shoot the. I thought you shot the antenna as well.
Maybe I did. It's hard to remember.
Yeah.
That's what I had stuck in my head.
I can't remember if I was shooting it with a shotgun by the end because I was out of ammo, or if I did hit it with the grenade launcher. But I remember I hit it when they were saying 1. Like 1, 0, and it started falling. So I couldn't tell you if that was scripted to fall or not. Oh,
now I got to look it up.
Okay.
Or
I think I had 10 seconds left on mine though, so I think you do need to shoot it. After that, Max Payne kind of walks smugly to the edge of the building, and this is where the game initially started. You basically standing over the side of the edge, and you've got cops that are pointing their guns at you. And Max, his mission is completed. He lets himself be taken into custody, but he's not really concerned because he does see Woden in the crowd there, and so he knows that he's gonna be taken care of.
He's gonna be all right.
Yeah, I like that they. Actually, I don't quite know if Woden comes through. Maybe he doesn't. But I like the thing of like Woden doesn't double cross you and be like, well, take him to the brig, boys. He's more like, hey, you did your job, you get your reward. So I appreciate that they have a nice little ending there where you feel vindicated finally. Like all this weight's finally lifted. You don't get your family back. But
yeah. Was it worth it, Max? Mr. Payne. So I checked and I did shoot it. I think because I was also just like, I don't know what to do now, and just started shooting everything because that's Max Payne. So
yeah, absolutely. when in doubt, shoot things there.
Yes, yes.
So and that's pretty much the end of Max Payne. It has a a nice little ending there. Again, you actually do meet Jim Bravura, and he, as we talked about initially when we met him, Bravura is actually. He's kind of along with you with the ride. He's along with you for the ride through this whole stuff, and so he almost seems like a companion or like a friend in a way that he's still trying to capture you, but I don't know. It's hard to describe.
There's a lot of points in the game where you can stop and listen to a radio, and it adds these little bits of. Jim is mad. He's pissed. He doesn't realize that BB was not killed by Payne. He thinks that Payne is on this murder spree. And you mentioned earlier he comes across like Gordon from Batman, and I really felt that too. Like just that a commissioner of the NYPD. He's just this. He wasn't dressed like a police officer. He's dressed more like a detective even.
Right.
And he's like he is the powerful force that's yelling for Payne to turn himself in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, while that was the final level, did you guys know there is a secret level?
What? No, I didn't. Tell us about the secret level.
So there is a secret level if you beat the game on the hardest difficulty. After you beat the final level, then you get an additional level called, I think it's just called the Secret Finale. And I don't think that, I didn't really look and see if it added any story or anything, but it's just another, you have a bunch of killer suits in a room. It's, you're kind of in the Acer Corporation building, and it's another just have fun and survive.
Interesting.
Level.
Okay. So it doesn't like give you the true ending or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't give you anything like a true ending, I think.
Interesting.
Well, that's Max Payne. Let's see, Alamaxia, give us your closing thoughts on this game.
I am so happy I went back and played this because it erases the horrible memories I had of just simply a dark room with babies crying, and it replaces it with crazy memories of this just. It was a noir. I played through a noir film, and it played so well how the problem just kept escalating and getting deeper and bigger, and Max realized quickly how in over his head he was, and his resolve to see it through to the end, and knowing that he probably wasn't going to walk out in the end. I think the story was well written. The graphics were incredible for PlayStation 2, and overall, it's a great game. It is so fun.
Lobos, what did you want to talk about here in terms of your experiences?
I really liked how the game handled. Like, it was a very responsive shooter. Like I said, I did a lot of like corner peeking and stuff, and with clunkier kind of gameplay, that's much harder to do. But, you know, I don't think I used the slowdown as much as you guys, but I think because I was just enjoying running around and gunning people like that. Like, yeah, there were parts where it would get difficult to the point that you pretty much needed to spam slow-mo until everything died. But that's the beauty of it is you're basically Neo and you do what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the word that always kind of resonated with me is just fun. This game is just like, hey, we want to make killing bad guys fun. And it's kind of no nonsense, right? There's not a lot of collectibles to find to slow you down. There's not key cards. You know, you just go from area to area and you kind of just shut your brain off and have some fun there. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So that's going to do it for us on Max Payne today. And we actually got a new Patreon supporter. I think it's like 3 months in a row we got a new one, so Whoa. We're kind of on a roll. That's awesome. So thank you so much to Brian for supporting the Saturday Morning Gaming Show. And if you want to support us as well and help us check out some new titles in the future, you can head on over to SaturdayMorningGamingShow.com
Whoa!
to learn more, or you could just go to like patreon.com/SaturdayMorningGamingShow. But the SaturdayMorningGamingShow.com site has a lot of cool stuff. Alamaxia helped out a lot with that, and we got all our episodes there. You can just use that as like your repository for the videos and the podcasts. So check it out. And yeah, you can even you don't even need to email us. You can actually just submit forms to us that say, "Hey, you know what? You guys are awesome. I especially like that Thefatwizard guy. I think he's probably the coolest of the group." And I say, "Oh, you're too kind, but yeah, you're right." So yeah, lots of interesting stuff there to check out, and so we urge people to check it out there. All right. And with that, I think it's time we announce the next game. Isn't that what we usually do around here?
I think so.
So we're kind of kicking it, going back old school again. I know we kind of dipped into the 2000s, and like there was technology there that kind of scared me. So like maybe we should go back somewhere a little more simpler, where cartridges dominated the world there. Back when Dragon Quest wasn't called Dragon Quest, but was called Dragon Warrior.
Oh, yes.
We're going to be taking a look at the original Dragon Warrior on NES. So I did play this for about 30 minutes once. Lobos, Alamaxia, have you guys played this?
Very briefly, myself.
In my childhood, I used a Game Genie and played it, which means I know nothing about the game.
Right.
So I'm going through it completely blind, and it's been fun to get back into an old RPG. It's
very old, yeah.
It feels like right when they were converting from text-based to graphics.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be in February, so stick around for that one. But until then, we have reached the end credits of this episode, and we really wanted to thank everyone for listening to us on the podcast or watching us on LobosJr's channel. And of course, we do release a new podcast every month. That's a lot of months in a year. And there's an episode to go along with each one of those. So make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast. You can get that on iTunes, Google, wherever you want to listen to it. You could even just go to SaturdayMorningGamingShow.com and just click on the buttons there that we handily provide you there.
Yep, we have Spotify embedded on the website.
Embedded.
Nice.
And
that's fancy.
And if you have any other platforms that you prefer, then at the top we have a link to our Apple podcast, and I believe there's a couple other links to just some other feeds. So you can get your podcast wherever you are comfortable with it.
Nice. If you have any feedback for our episodes or the website, you can contact us through that website or just shoot us an email at SaturdayMorningGamingShow@gmail.com.
You can also follow our Twitter at SaturdayMGaming, and on the website we even have a feed of the Twitter. Right on that main page.
There's so
just
much.
Go to the website.
Just go to the website.
Someone should have thought about this.
Get
Why
out
are
of
you
here.
still listening to us? All right, everyone. We wanted to give a special shout out to TechnoAxe for much of the music on this episode.
For Saturday Morning Gaming, I'm Alamaxia.
And I'm Lobos.
And I'm the Fat Wizard. We'll see you in February with Dragon Warrior on the NES.